Friday afternoon, Facebook Live Friday, All Blue Preview, Cats and the South Carolina Gamecocks. Brian Milam, not Lee K. Howard, that's Dave Baker.
Wow.
How are you, sir?
Think Lee K'd be happy about that? Or?
No.
Okay.
I don't care right now. I'm mad. I'm in a bad mood right now.
Yeah, you kind of are. You're kind of bristly.
Kinda unedgy. I'm on the edge.
Kind of bristly.
Yeah, I have been lately, too. Sorry, people. You get to deal with it for the next 10 minutes.
Beta blockers would help.
Well, I just have to go with the readers. How you been?
I'm good. Good
Cats
week.
are not doing well.
No.
4 out of 5. And now, sometimes you get well by accident. And with Carolina coming in, they've not won a game. Maybe this is the antidote for the moment to kind of get them back in the right momentum.
You hope that's the case. You hope it's not the right antidote. You hope it's not the right antidote for South Carolina.
We're just trying to find something positive here. You know?
It's what I call. I know you're not a big golfer,
No.
but when you keep having mistakes and things like that, I always say you can't get off the bogey bus. You know, the harder you try, the harder it is to get off the bogey bus. And I think that's kind of where they are right now. Nobody's making any excuses. What was it that Cal said? You know, nobody's crying for us. And I think Pope's kind of said that too. But, you know, the situation they're in at the guard spot right now, I think every Mark Pope news conference maybe is more interesting than the next. And you had the soundbite yesterday talking about analytics, about how he's been an analytics guy.
Right.
And he's wondering whether the analytics are lying to him now because, you know, he said, I'm getting hit in the mouth with them.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting hit in a way that the numbers don't resonate with what the algorithm is.
That's right.
But here's the thing. You cannot, in my opinion, and Mark Pope has forgotten more basketball and stuff, but I think at some point you have to get a feel. You got to push the numbers to the side. What's going to work for a Band-Aid in this moment? What's a bandage right now? You got to mix up something because this defensive club,
yes,
and I think Pope even said it himself yesterday, is like the worst in terms of causing chaos and turmoil.
Least disruptive.
There you go. And so, okay, if what you're doing, to quote Cal, the definition of insanity,
I think it was Thomas Edison that said it first.
But I mean,
yes,
you know what I mean.
Yes.
But you've got to mix up something, and
the problem is that they're really limited in what they can do.
Exactly, but you've got to mix. This ain't working.
Right.
You got to find something else.
But I would go back to,
at least for a moment.
I would go back to Pope's Yoda, which is Rick Pitino, and he always said, you pressed to cover up your weaknesses.
Right.
Now they could press, but they just don't have enough people to press.
Well, that's the point.
They don't have healthy people.
So I'm thinking this: what if Joe B. Hall is right? What do? He always told Cal, you ought to use what?
The 1-3-1.
The 1-3-1. You put Carr, who's limited mobility-wise, out on the front. You put Amari in the back. He's a good rebounder. Garrison in the back. Whomever. Put your quicker guards out on the wings who can cover the wing. Maybe you go 1-3-1 Jim Boeheim. Yes, you're going to slow down the game. It's not going to be. You're not going to score 95 points in a game playing a zone more than likely, but you got to come up with something. And I feel so bad for Mark Pope because you can see it's eating at him. What do we do? Because you can't press when you're only playing 6 guys, 7 guys, and the bench is not as fast.
They've gone to 1-3-1 a little bit. I don't know.
They
didn't go to it much at Ole Miss, but they did try it at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And then they proceeded to shoot like 19 of 20 or whatever they shot from 3, right?
But only 1 turnover in 40 minutes. I've never heard of such a thing.
That's an indication of being as least disruptive as possible.
I mean, 24 assists, 1 turn. I've never heard in the history of basketball. The Harlem Globetrotters had at least 2 turnovers against the Washington Generals. You know, I mean, gosh.
What do you think he broke at halftime? You think it was the whiteboard or what?
I don't know. I would not. You know, Mark.
Because he had some blood on the side of his side of his top and on his hand, and his hand was bandaged yesterday.
See, and I've had people, and I'm sure maybe it's happened to you. They're like, you know, I don't see Mark getting mad at these guys, and I said, no, wait, that's publicly.
That's right.
Privately.
Oh yeah.
I bet he's letting them have it in ways that gets their attention. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening.
That's right. That's right.
But what we do see that is not happening is nothing is changing in the outcome of a team scoring 106, a team scoring 102, a team scoring 98, a team like Tennessee only scored 73, but had the worst shooting night in the history of Tennessee basketball. And it wasn't because of pressure defense, mind you. They just didn't hit.
Right.
So what can happen? And as I said earlier this week, I think at some point you are who you are.
No,
you have to go with it
until you get healed up. But I mean, we got sort of an update yesterday on Lamont Butler that apparently he was going to practice non-contact yesterday. See how he responded. I think the big thing is, and again, this was another Mark Pope comment from yesterday where he talked about, I'd like to be able to go long enough where I could get them back to being what they were before they got hurt. Talking about he and Kriisa, but can he afford to go that long?
You know, Kriisa hadn't played in, 6 weeks?
Yeah, maybe a little north of that now.
May not even play the rest of the season. When I saw him at Vanderbilt, it was not someone who was walking. It was...
Yeah, I get that.
You know, and that was 3 weeks ago, mind you, 2.5 weeks ago.
And apparently that break in that bone is a place where we heard Mark say yesterday that it doesn't get a lot of great blood flow.
Yeah,
and so that's what stimulates the healing process. But you know what? You've already got, you talk about being what you are, you've already got these top 15 wins. I mean, it would just take a mortal implosion for them not to get in, and they're certainly capable of making a run, but you know that this league this year just doesn't. I mean, even though South Carolina's 0-9, the way things are going right
now.
I mean, they had Auburn on the ropes.
Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Vandy, Mississippi State. Those 5 losses by a total of 16 points, and one of those games went to overtime.
Right.
And Mark Pope, bless his heart, he's got to be, not to quote Vern Lundquist, but he's got to be the sickest man in America right now because he wants to do what he wants to do. I would love to drive a Corvette. I've got a Honda Civic. You know, sometimes you cannot do what you want to do because you don't have the parts.
There's a difference between a want to and a have to.
Exactly. And so if I'm Mark Pope, maybe, yes, you want to win. You want to build your resume a little bit more going into the tournament. But what's more important now? Playing well, getting some wins if you can, obviously is huge. Or saying, look, Lamont, we're going to sit you out another week because we need to be hitting come late February. We're not at late February. It's a catch-22.
No, you're right.
And it's not a good situation to be in for UK basketball right now.
And the problem is if you get him out, get him physically right.
Correct.
Then there's all that rep rust. You know, from not being able to get out there and practice.
Sure. And you know, obviously he knows his team so much better than anybody. But you can feel the frustration on him too.
Yes, you can.
Gosh.
Very much so.
Tough situation. But South Carolina has not won a game in conference, have not won a game since December 30th. I think it was maybe Presbyterian.
To put it in context, they have not won a game since 2024.
They've not won a game since the calendar flipped. But this is vital for UK. I wanted to ask you this because you've spoken to so many more people than I have that have been on an NCAA committee. You know, C.M. Newton was the chair at one time. Mitch Barnhart is.
That's right. He's been a chair.
Sure.
Yep.
We talk about the big top 15 wins, Gonzaga and Duke and
at Tennessee.
At Tennessee. But do the losses to a Clemson team, a loss to an Ohio State team, do they start to weigh down, you know,
the resume?
It's a balancing act.
Yes,
here.
I see what you're saying. I don't think so. I thought the first one, in terms of losses they had that could possibly hurt their tournament resume was last Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, Arkansas was 1-6.
Sure.
You lose to them at home. You don't lose to them at home. You get rolled by them at home. And injuries are not. That's one that will not, you know, stand out for the committee in a positive light. The others, there's, you know, who knows what happens with Clemson and Ohio State. I mean, the Ohio State was just kind of fluky, the whole neutral court thing and everything.
It was.
Clemson played a really good game.
They did.
I mean,
the problem, and physical.
They did. The problem is the ACC hadn't been all that great this year except for Cooper Flagg.
Because everybody wants to look at, look at who we beat. Look at who we beat.
Right.
Okay, I get that, but you also have to be fair. Who did you lose to?
And
where did you lose
That's
to?
right. That's right. And the main thing they look at is those quad one wins. And Kentucky, to this point in time, has been able to bucket up some of those wins. And
it's a good thing too.
And you hope that as this thing goes down the road, and it's really been kind of interesting too. They have. I'm going to say they've played better. Don't you think they've played better on the road than they have at home?
Absolutely, they
and
have. With the exception of the Florida game, the 106-100.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
That was just a shootout, but they were also much more healthy then too.
And I don't know where Pope's analytics, how you factor that in.
Dude, he's so much smarter than anything.
I know, but there's got to be a reason for it, right? I mean,
yeah, but I also think you have to be, and this is coming from an old school approach. You have to have a feel for the game. What is going on? Let's throw a knuckleball at us. Throw a curve right now. Let's give them something they're not expecting. You've got to be a possession, 3 possessions ahead, maybe, depending on. And I know it's such a quick game, but it's just hurt. If Amari got hurt.
Oh, I was just thinking that.
If he got hurt.
Remember the year that Rodney Dent went down and they looked like they were going to make a deep run in the tournament?
Yeah. Oh, Nerlens Noel.
That's right.
2013 goes down, season's over. If he had been hurt, though, let's say 6 weeks ago, you still keep your guards healthy.
That's true.
This is a guard, speed, style of pace of play team. You could say, okay, we're just going to shoot more threes. We've got to shoot more threes. Well, what we give up on rebounding, we shoot more threes. We do this. Okay, that's the Pitino style, Pitino's Bambinos. But when the guards go out, your top 2 point guards go out, you bring in Travis Perry, who's not a point guard. He's a shooting guard. Jackson Robinson, shooting guard. Otega Owe, shooting guard.
And
Kobe Brea, shooting guard.
Jackson Robinson. And you go ahead and you take out your best defensive player in terms of Lamont Butler on the perimeter.
Sure.
And the other thing is you take away, this is a team that was built to be disruptive, built to be high energy, and there's no question that Creasy was the energy guy on this team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you've got to find.
It's a perfect storm.
It is, and it's a storm.
Mark Pope may feel like George Clooney on that boat, just looking at that big wave.
I want all those fish, but I know I got to go over there to get it. But it's a tough situation for the Cats right now. They've got to figure it out, and they have time to do so. However, the schedule does get a little tough down the stretch. You still have to play Alabama again. Mm-hmm. You've got to play Auburn. You've got to play Tennessee again. You've got to play Missouri, who has shown.
Yes, they have.
And they have been a much more of a surprise than I think than others thought. So it's certainly not easy down the stretch, but there is time. As I mentioned earlier this week, don't have to panic. But the anxiety level and the temperature is starting to increase a little bit. I think so much revolves around this game Saturday. The Cats have got to get a win.
I mean,
it may be the must-win of must-wins.
Sense of urgency's got to be there.
Yeah.
And it's always South Carolina, right? I mean, if you look back, I mean, most people will tell you that Mark Stoops, that field goal game against South Carolina, there are a lot of people that would tell you if they don't win that game and hit that field goal, he's not the coach anymore.
That's right.
And then he doesn't have all this success. But such is life.
Yeah,
that's why they get the big bucks.
That's right. So Cats and Carolina, noon Saturday. And so we'll see what happens.
High school hoops tonight?
High school basketball tonight. And guess what? Next week we start talking about the state tournament a little bit.
Yes, we do.
And then in about, 2.5 weeks, we start getting ready for postseason play
Let's
at the
go.
high school level. So we're going to call it a day, get back to work. He's got things to do, places to go, people to see. He's got to keep up with the beat. So, old Twix commercial.
Wow.
Or Kit Kat commercial, I forget. We're going to get out of here and get back to work. Let you enjoy your day. Have a great weekend, everyone.